Welcome to Setting the Bar, where we sit down for a virtual drink with best-in-class operational leaders. Today, we're going to be talking about the future of accounts payable. Please welcome Guido Torrini from Celonis. Cheers, Guido.
Cheers to you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and let's dive in.
Okay, so we have a semi-controversial question to kind of kick things off, which is that if you could only track one KPI in accounts payable, what would that be?
Yeah. That's a tough one because in today's world, trying to go just for one, with the abundance of tools, data, and software and system that you have, it feels like a really high bar. But if you really force me to pick one, I would say cash, right? Because that's definitely one that you always have to have. The real answer is it depends. At any point in time, in any given internal or external situation, your objective function change and therefore what you want to optimize for change. And ultimately the reality is that you need to track everything in order to decide what goes first. And having the ability to put that all into one picture, it's critical for CFOs as well as for anyone in finance and the corporations today.
Yeah. So in the accounts payable departments that you've run at Celonis and elsewhere, what are the KPIs that you find sort of most valuable when it comes to looking at cash?
Well, I think the way you think about it is fundamentally you have this element of cost optimization and you have this element of cash preservation, right? And so you could almost categorize all of your KPIs into these two major dimensions. And what you get down to is always a trade-off between, am I paying when and early or late, and am I paying how much, right? And so it's almost like a margin versus a cash outflow trade-off, or a liquidity versus a profitability trade-off.
But I think I've heard you in the past describe accounts payable as a machine. And so I think it would be really interesting to kind of dive a bit deeper into what clogs up the machine's ability to get the job done.
Yeah, and I think the reality is that there is a first level of operation which is more simplistic, what has been measured since probably the beginning of time, which is like basic throughput, right? What's your capacity, how many invoices you process, how quickly you process them, and so on. And then like the flip side of that is which one you process first and why, which payment you process first and why, and ultimately how accurate you are in the recording and of the transaction itself. And so you're starting to mix together a different measurement and different dimension that don't pertain to the same realm. The ability to merge together different type of measurement that don't belong to the same realm is what is going to make the difference, right, in the future and going forward. Like the ability to combine transactional level measurement with true optimization.
So to your fellow CFOs and finance leaders, what would be your sort of actionable takeaways here when it comes to the KPIs that it makes sense to set, when it comes to the right mindset for optimizing AP for the right strategic impact?
Well, I think the first thing to do is take a step back of what you measure today, understand what are the advantages of what you're measuring, what you're really getting from that visibility, and what are you missing, right? And then ask yourself, what is your ultimate goal in terms of agility of operations, right? That's what you really want. You want quality and you want agility. Trading off intelligently between profitability and liquidity is a must-have. So I think that's not something you get out of some standard reporting in ERP. And I think the key here is really shifting from this idea of cost per invoice, cost optimization, automation, into this idea of intelligent execution. It's really about how you operate and how you operate better and more intelligently. It's not just about operating cheaply, right? Or operating cost effectively, right? It's at every point in time, that ability to shift is what marks the difference between, world-class finance and just regular finance. And so you step back and try to understand how much of that you're achieving today and what are you missing in terms of either software or processes or solution. I think it's fundamental to start the journey toward thinking about AP a lot more strategically And more practically than that, thinking about your accounts payable as a source of refunds.
Yeah, no, I think it makes total sense and completely agree. So I think, that's all that we have time for today, but this has been incredibly informative. Guido, thank you so much for helping us to raise the bar for accounts payable, and cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.